Hello all. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. You've seen unboxings, you've seen unbaggings. Well, today I'm going to show unpacking, or show you how I pack Labyrinth of Forever War along with the other expansions to Labyrinth, the War on Terror. Now I have the original GMT box, from the 2010, so when I pack it all back, I got a little bit of overflow there, but at least it's all in the same box. So let's take a look at how I pack this all together, and we'll also take a little bit of a look or introduction to Labyrinth, the Forever War. So this is the original box, and as you can see, I like to bag things. So I've got the cards. These are the cards for Labyrinth, the Forever War. Have those bagged. This is the second expansion to Labyrinth, the Awakening. And then, of course, the original cards for Labyrinth, the War on Terror. Now, Labyrinth, the War on Terror covers 2001 to roughly 2008. Labyrinth, the Awakening covers 2010 to roughly 2015. And the Forever War covers 2015 on, and actually goes into some events that are still, unfolding today. If you if you're watching this, you probably have some familiarity with Labyrinth, the War on Terror. You need to have that game in order to play Labyrinth, the Forever War. You don't necessarily need the Awakening to play Labyrinth, the Forever War. At least I don't think so. You've got the bits and pieces that are markers. These are the U.S. forces, and then the black or the terrorist cells. Got those packed there. These are the markers showing the different levels of governments, fair or good or poor, that's used in the base game. The dice. Then you have the various markers. These are the markers actually from Labyrinth, the Forever War, that basically marks events. When you play a card that has an event that's been played or needs to continue an event, you have these markers that show that. These are the ones that come with Labyrinth, the Forever War. These other markers are ones that come with the expansions, or used in the either expansion or in the base game. You have some other markers that talk about, mainly it's the stance of the U.S. or the European powers on terrorism, whether they're hard or soft, where the countries stand on that, and some U.S. markers for the base game. More markers for the cells. I believe this comes with the Awakening. I have to go back and look. I haven't played this in a while. Then you have some more. These are thicker counters that kind of go over stuff like this one replaces Iran on the board. There's some other countries in here that replace or cover stuff on the board for different scenarios. I have printed out rules of play, the kind of the living rules for Labyrinth. I like to do that, and highlight, keep track of some stuff. And then you have the combined rule book for the Awakening. I haven't done that for the Forever War yet, but I like to keep a separate set of rules. Then you have Labyrinth, the Forever War. These are some of the charts that come with it, mainly for the bot. You can play Labyrinth solo. It's relatively, I would say relatively complex as solo games go. If you're familiar with the coin series, it's on par with that, but actually this was kind of the precursor to the coin series on how the bots worked out. So you have some player aids, and then charts for the bot, and then event instructions that talk about certain events. Those come with Labyrinth, the Forever War. I printed these out for the Awakening. Something else I put in there, my own print and play. Labyrinth, the War on Terror, the playbook. GMT games normally come with playbooks that explain the cards and go over a few rounds of play. Then you have the War on Terror rules of play, which really are not that long. You're talking about 16 pages. If you haven't played one of these kind of games before, it might take a few reads to get kind of used to it, but then you go through the playbook and that will kind of show you, how you play the game. Then you have, this is something I got from C3I magazine. number 31 actually. That is another scenario, a 2007 scenario. Talks about what cards you need to set up for that. This is the Awakening combined rulebook, very similar to the Forever War. Talks about what is, basically the combined rules, which is not very much. A little bit more new rules actually. There's more new rules in the Awakening than there were for the Forever War, and then it goes into some scenarios and explains the cards. Then you have these are the player aids that are from the original game, jihadist operations, the U.S. operations. And then, of course, your bot cards to help you play the game. And then, of course, the map that comes with the game, the base game, have the map in there. So I put this all, I can fit this all in one box with a little bit of overflow. That's probably, and of course, there's a original game, came with a box insert. I usually get rid of those so I can fit everything in. I try to keep them as much as I can. I'm kind of a completist that way, but where I also like to try to put all the expansions in one box if possible. Now, I know there was a subsequent edition of this that had a thicker box, and I probably could fit everything nicely in here without the box insert into that bigger box. But this is the original box, which is a little bit thinner, so there's a little bit of overflow, but I can kind of get everything in there. So the Labyrinth, the Awakening, or the Forever War, again, here's the combined rules. Not a lot there. There's only like 4 pages, not even a full 4 pages of that. And then it goes into the scenarios. And one of the things that I'm interested in here, of course, it'd be a very long game, is playing from the beginning, starting with the 2001 cards, going into the 2010 cards, and then finishing up with the 2015 cards. You get the full breadth of the War on Terror and the political events surrounding that through this gameplay. So if you not familiar with again, Labyrinth again, it's a card-driven game where you'll have points that give you actions that you can do certain things, and it's very asymmetrical. What the U.S. player or the nations that are fighting terror, what they can do is completely different than what the jihadists are trying to do, and they have different actions. But you get these points to do actions, or you also have events that you play on there, and you go through these deck of cards and go back and forth on your turns to to play the game. And each side has their own separate victory conditions on what they're trying to accomplish. The U.S. player is trying to accomplish enable stabilization throughout the world, especially in the Middle East region, and the jihadists are trying to enact a terrorist act. They're trying to weaken some of the Middle Eastern countries, and also trying to get a weapon of mass destruction into the U.S. is their ultimate goal. So you get an example of some of the cards that come in here. Of course, it's up to date. It has Trump's tweets, of course. Gotta love those. And it has new events and cards that deal with events that have happened since 2015, and some of these things are ongoing right now. So anyway, hope that's hope that's a helpful look and introduction into the game, and kind of how I try to store everything in one box, and albeit the smaller box. Hope that was helpful. Thank you.